This weekend is the first Sunday in October. And the first Sunday of October is referred to as Respect Life Sunday. On this Sunday, we're called to have a concern for all human life, from the very moment of its conception to its natural death to the grave. We're called to have a special concern for life at the most vulnerable, especially the unborn, the elderly, people with disabilities, the terminally ill, and others whose lives are easily threatened. As I reflect on this Respect Life Sunday, as I reflect on the Scriptures through the lens of respect life, I'm reminded as much as we try to be independent, as much as we try to do things on our own, we need each other. And note that I said we need each other, and not that we want each other. There's a difference. To say I want is to desire, to possess, to wish something, and you can survive without it. But to need is to mean that it is essential. It is very important. It is needed for survival. In our Scriptures today, we hear God say, "It is not good for the man to be alone. I'll make a suitable partner for him." In the spirit of inclusion, I will add and say that it's also not good for woman to be alone either. Why is it not good for the man or the woman to be alone? God does not give the answer to why in our Scriptures today. God just says that it's not good. But psychologists, and really our own personal experiences, can point to the value that human relationships have, that we need each other, but why not being together is not being separate is not good. We know that by nature we are social beings. Human relationships with each other helps our overall well-being as far as health goes. I think of the example when you visit someone who is sick or lonely, and how that just with a simple visit, lifts up their spirits and just helps them to feel better. Or I just think of the fact that it is something to say about our overall health when we love and know that we're loved in return. I think of the example of people dealing with depression, anxiety, and other mental health problems because of the lack of human relations. Or I think of young people trying to seek relationships in artificial ways through the social media and places where it's seeking relationships but not in a true sense. Or I think in our relationships with each other that helps us to work through tough times, or when we're trying to find our way in the world It's in our relationship with each other that our God helps us to find the way. It's in our closeness with each other we're given direction. We know the reasons why it's not good to be alone. We know the reasons why it is good to be in relationship with each other, why it's not good for us to be alone, and why we need each other. God does not seem to give the answer into the why it's not good for man to be alone. But God is the one that cast the deep sleep on the man, took out one of his ribs, and provided the suitable partner for the man. God provides the suitable partner for the man. God provides for our need for companionship. We know this in our lives as well. God puts the right people in our lives at the right time when we need the right people there for us. So often when we think about those whose lives are vulnerable, the unborn, the elderly, those with disabilities, the terminally ill, and those whose lives are threatened, we often think about how they need us. The unborn, the help from the scourge of abortion. The elderly, helping them with the necessities of life, helping them to stay in their homes in companionship. The terminally ill, being there for them so that they can pass this life in peace and dignity. And there are many other ways we help those whose lives who are vulnerable. They need us. But if truth be told, as much as they need us, we're not to forget that we need them as well. If you're a parent of an unexpected child, I imagine you could tell us how much you need that child. Or I think of a family sitting with a dying family member. We can attest to the need of being with that dying family member in those final moments, hours and days together, on how much that time was needed. And our concern for those whose lives are vulnerable, we in turn get blessed as well. When I was growing up and my parish got put into a cluster of 5 parishes, and 2 priests got sent to the cluster to serve the 5 parishes. Father Ken Schrader was sent to be the pastor, and he just retired as an Army military chaplain. And Father Harry Cavanaugh came as the senior associate. I think he was roughly in his early 70s. Instead of coming, he could have easily retired. But he chose to take one more assignment. As Father Ken and Father Harry began to serve the cluster together, Father Harry loved ministering to the people in the parishes, and the people loved him. But shortly after Father Harry came, he started to develop early stages of dementia. He would forget things. He would get easily confused, sometimes forgetting where he was supposed to be, sometimes even getting confused in the middle of Mass. But Father Ken would help Father Harry to work through his forgetfulness and his confusion. People often would tell Father Ken that Father Harry was lucky to have him. You're good for him, and he needs you. When Father Harry died, Father Ken gave the homily at Father Harry's funeral. And one of the things that Father Ken said in his homily is people often say that Father Harry was lucky to have me. But if the truth be told, I was lucky to have Father Harry. He needed me just as much as I needed him. If the truth be told, we are lucky to have each other, both the weak and the strong. We need each other. We're called to have a concern for each other. In a few minutes, we'll gather at the table to share the Eucharist. It is here that we are one. It is here that the weak and the strong gather. The vulnerable and the invulnerable. The ill and the healthy. We gather here. We come together as one. We come together as equals. It is here that we recognize our need for each other. Through the gift of the Eucharist, we share God's love with each other.